There are times in life when the ground beneath us begins to shift. The things we thought were stable begin to shake, plans unravel, doors close, people leave, and we find ourselves standing in a fog of confusion asking, what now? These are the moments of uncertainty. And while they may catch us off guard, they do not catch God by surprise. You see, uncertainty is not the absence of God's plan. It is often the very place where His greatest work is born. When things no longer make sense, when you can't trace His hand, that's when you must trust His heart. For it is in the silence that God speaks the loudest, in the waiting that He builds the strongest faith, and in the unknown, He sets the stage for the miraculous. There are moments in life when everything seems to fall apart. The path ahead becomes blurred, and the certainty we once held is replaced by confusion and fear. We look at the plans we made, the dreams we cherished, and the efforts we poured our hearts into, only to see them unravel. In such times, the heart aches with questions. Where is this going? Why is this happening? What do I do now? But what we often forget is that uncertainty is not a signal that things are going wrong. It is a sign that something greater may be taking place behind the scenes. It is in these seasons of uncertainty that we are being invited to look beyond what our eyes can see. Just because we cannot trace the hand of divine order does not mean it is not working. The plan is not gone. It is simply above our understanding. Uncertainty is not a mistake. It is often a necessary part of a much bigger picture being painted with brushstrokes we don't yet comprehend. When everything familiar begins to shift, it is not to destroy us, but to position us, to move us from comfort zones that no longer serve our growth, and to strip away false securities that were never meant to hold our future. We must recognize that there is a purpose in the pause. What feels like delay or confusion is often the setting of a divine stage. The silence is not abandonment, it is alignment. The unknown is not punishment, it is preparation. Just as a seed must remain hidden in the soil before it breaks forth into life, we too often must dwell in darkness before our next season is revealed. The plan does not disappear just because we don't understand it in the moment. It continues, carried forward by a wisdom far greater than ours. In truth, uncertainty becomes a sacred space. It is where faith is not only required but refined. It is the ground where the deepest trust is formed. Not trust in what we can see or control, but trust in something higher, something eternal. It challenges our dependence on the visible and invites us into a deeper relationship with the invisible. And in that space, something shifts. The fear that once gripped us begins to loosen because we begin to realize that we were never alone, never forgotten, and never without a purpose. So in the moments when nothing makes sense, when the world grows quiet and your plans fall through, remember this: the plan is not gone. The process may be hidden, but it is still unfolding. What looks like uncertainty is often divine activity, subtle, intentional, and powerful. And even though you may not see it now, one day you will look back and understand that it was in the moments of greatest uncertainty that the foundation of your next chapter was laid. There is something deeply human about the desire to understand everything, to hold the reins oiled tightly and feel in control of each decision, outcome, and future step. Yet the moments that stretch us the most, the moments of uncertainty, are often the ones where control is no longer an option. When doors unexpectedly close, relationships shift, or plans dissolve into thin air, we are confronted with the uncomfortable truth that we were never truly in control to begin with. And it is in that space that we are invited to experience the essence of real faith. Faith is not built in the moments when everything is going smoothly, when the plan is unfolding exactly as expected, or when answers come quickly. Faith grows in the dark, in silence, in the in-between spaces where clarity is missing. It is not dependent on understanding. It is rooted in trust. Trust that even when we don't have the map, there is still a path. Trust that even when we don't hear a clear voice, we are still being led. It is in surrender, not control, where faith becomes alive. Letting go of the need to understand everything is not weakness. In fact, it's the beginning of spiritual strength. It's the moment you exchange your limited view for a greater vision, one that you may not yet see but are willing to walk toward anyway. And that walk is what defines true faith. The step into the unknown, the leap when you don't have a full guarantee, the willingness to trust a timing, a process, and a promise that hasn't yet manifested in front of your eyes. Often the deepest breakthroughs come after we've stopped trying to make sense of everything. When we stop fighting for control and begin embracing trust, peace follows. Not because everything suddenly becomes clear, but because we've released the burden of trying to carry what was never ours to carry. We begin to see that some of the greatest gifts come wrapped in mystery, that there is beauty in the unfolding, even if it unfolds slowly. And though we may tremble with uncertainty, something extraordinary happens when we continue moving forward. The fog doesn't clear all at once, but it begins to lift one step at a time. We start to notice signs of guidance we never saw before. Doors open in unexpected places. The right people show up. The right opportunities come. But none of it happens until we make that choice to trust over understanding, to surrender over control. So in the midst of your questions, your doubts, and your fears, take heart. You do not need to know everything to move forward. You do not need every answer to have peace. The power lies not in your knowledge, but in your willingness to believe that even in the uncertainty, you are being guided, not perfectly according to your plan, but perfectly according to a greater one. The quiet seasons of life often feel like the most difficult. It's in those stretches of silence when nothing seems to be moving forward that doubt tries to creep in. The prayers feel unanswered, the waiting grows long, and the temptation to give up whispers louder each day. Yet these silent seasons are not wasted. They are deeply sacred. What feels like a delay is often divine preparation. And what appears to be stillness is actually a time when something powerful is being built within. In these moments, something deeper is happening beneath the surface. Like a seed planted in soil, nothing may be visible from the outside, but beneath the ground, roots are forming, strength is being developed, character is being shaped, faith is being refined. Silence doesn't mean absence, it means something is being constructed in the unseen that will sustain you in the days ahead. These are the moments when your heart is being tuned to hear differently, to listen more closely, and to recognize the voice that speaks not with noise, but with a whisper. It's easy to believe in purpose when everything is going right, but it takes real faith to believe when everything feels uncertain. In those times, it's not that God isn't working, it's that the work is being done in a realm beyond your sight. The waiting period becomes the training ground. You learn patience, perseverance, trust, and humility, not by avoiding struggle, but by walking through it with your eyes fixed on what you cannot see, yet still believe is real. This quiet preparation often feels lonely, but it is where your inner strength is forged. It's where your vision is sharpened. The noise of life fades so that the true priorities of your heart can rise to the surface. What once distracted you loses its power, and what once seemed unclear begins to take shape, not because your surroundings changed, but because you changed. You began to see differently, feel differently, and walk differently. It is in the silence where your purpose becomes purified. Stripped of the applause, the affirmation, and the external noise, you're left with the raw, unshakable core of who you are. And that is exactly where transformation happens. What emerges from that place is not a weaker version of you. It's a refined one that knows how to wait with peace, how to walk with confidence in the unknown, and how to trust not the visible signs, but the invisible hand guiding your life. So don't despise the quiet seasons. Don't curse the waiting. It may feel like nothing is happening, but the truth is everything is happening, just not yet visible. Your steps are still counted, your prayers are still heard, and your journey is still unfolding exactly as it should. Keep walking, keep believing, because in the silence, your next chapter is quietly being written. There are times in life when the road ahead is clouded, when nothing seems to make sense and you feel surrounded by confusion. In these seasons, it's easy to believe that purpose has disappeared, that you've lost your way, or that the detours and delays have somehow disqualified you from what was meant for you. But the truth is, just because you can't see the purpose doesn't mean it's gone. Even in the fog, the purpose remains intact, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. When you walk through uncertainty, it often feels like you're moving without direction, but that doesn't mean you're walking without guidance. Sometimes guidance doesn't come in the form of clear signs or immediate answers. It comes through trust and persistence. The fog you're in may limit your visibility, but it doesn't limit your destiny. What's meant for you hasn't vanished. It's simply unfolding in ways that don't rely on your full understanding. Purpose is not always loud, and it is rarely obvious. It often operates quietly in the background, hidden in the everyday steps of obedience and faith. We live in a world that tells us that clarity equals success, that we must know the full plan before taking the first step. But divine purpose often works the other way around. It asks you to take the step first, to move forward while trusting what you cannot yet see. Each moment of obedience, each act of integrity, each decision to keep going when you feel like quitting builds upon that purpose. Even the detours, the delays, and the heartbreaks play a role. They are not interruptions. They are part of the preparation. It's easy to look at your current situation and assume you've missed it, but purpose is not fragile. It doesn't break under pressure. It doesn't disappear when life gets messy. Purpose weaves itself through every chapter, even the ones filled with pain or silence. Sometimes it's not about arriving quickly. It's about becoming the kind of person who can carry the weight of that purpose once it fully arrives. and that becoming happens most often in the unseen, uncelebrated spaces where your heart is shaped. In foggy seasons, your role is not to force clarity, it's to stay faithful. Keep showing up. Keep doing what's right. Keep believing even when you feel like nothing is moving, because the fog does lift. And when it does, you'll see that the path you were walking all along was leading you somewhere intentional. Not random, not wasted, just not visible until the right time. Purpose doesn't vanish in uncertainty. It waits to be revealed through it. So if you're walking through confusion, don't panic. Don't give in to the lie that you're lost. The purpose still stands. It may be hidden, but it's not gone. It may be quiet, but it's still speaking. And in the perfect moment, it will make itself known, not just around you, but within you. Keep walking. The fog won't last forever. In times of uncertainty, the most powerful choice you can make is to trust. Not in what you see, not in what you understand, but in what you believe. Life may not always give you clarity, but it offers you something even stronger, the opportunity to walk by faith. Every delay, every silence, and every unknown moment is not meant to break you, but to build you. Purpose doesn't disappear in confusion. It is revealed through it. The fog may cover the road ahead, but it cannot cancel the destiny written for you. So keep moving forward, even if you can't see the full picture. Keep your heart steady, your hope alive, and your spirit open, because even in the silence, even in the waiting, even in the dark, you're being led. And one day when the fog lifts, you will see that every uncertain step was divinely ordered. You were never alone, never abandoned, and never off course. Trust that truth and keep walking.